Okay. I got bird shit on my hands trying to get up here. Okay. What is a man? Good question, right? I began asking that question about over half a year ago now, actually. Like 9 months ago now. And my perspective on that question has changed significantly since I began asking that question. When I began asking that question, I was actually on this roof and I just felt like talking because I had a lot of questions. I began watching this TikToker by the name of Jack talk about a lot of male inherited values and stuff like that. And it made me ask the question of what does it mean to be a man, or more specifically, what does it mean to be a good man? Which I still do not have the answers for, sadly. I think at this point I've begun thinking that the idea of manhood is completely socially constructed, and that to be a good man, you just have to exist. Or you just have to be a good person, I guess. I was still trapped in a bunch of ideals of manhood, like toughness, like perseverance, discipline, stoicism, stuff like that. Stuff that I no longer value, or at least try to deconstruct within my own brain. And that's a long way. Because I used to be this, kickboxing, self-help, false masculinity type of person. I would like to think without the toxic elements, but it's impossible to avoid as a male socialized person. Since starting my exploration into feminist literature and what it means, what masculinity means to me, to others, to society, I discovered that I was non-binary. And that came as a consequence of my exploration into feminist literature, because I don't want to be held to masculine standards. I don't want to be held by feminine standards either. We don't allow men to cry. We don't see their vulnerability as something to be savored, to be helped, to be cherished, but as something disgusting that we should shun and shame away. We don't allow women the autonomy to make their own decisions, to speak, to be listened to. So I don't want that either. I want to be seen as a whole human being, not just as a man or not just as a woman. That shit's hard to achieve in the society that we're in right now. I can fucking tell you that. Whew. I hope you can still see me. I want to get like a Bluetooth mic. The fucking sunset's beautiful though. Look at that. Like, it's so important to be soft, I feel like. We often use soft as a pejorative, right? But to be soft is to be kind, to be sensitive, to not step onto people but allow them the space to exist. That's an important skill. But we shun that. Like, we don't allow men to do that. Self-identifying men, or assigned at birth males, I guess. If they're not cisgender, then they're not men, right? Which is actually another part that I'm still debating in my mind, because I am non-binary. But that means I don't really understand the perspective of identifying with a gender. Because think about it this way. This is how my brain works on the subject, right? If gender is socially constructed, and those social constructs are toxic, like the ideas we have of women and the ideas that we have of men, why would you want to be set into those categories? Why would you want to be seen as a woman and have your autonomy stripped from you? And why would you want to be seen as a man and have your vulnerability stripped from you, right? And I talk to trans people about this. They usually explain to me that they don't necessarily have to have a philosophy to validate their identity. They just tell me that, hey, sometimes at one point someone referred to them as a he, and they felt that fit better than the title of she. And that's completely valid. Like, that's fine enough. It's like, okay, you find that pronoun more fitting, I'll call you that pronoun. Easy, right? To me, though, it's like, I also ask them, what conception of masculinity do you think you're transforming into? You're transitioning, right, from a assigned at birth female to a now transitioned male, right? That means you're adopting some behaviors of masculinity that you weren't socialized with growing up socialized as a woman. What idea of masculinity do you then have? Because the people that I talk to are typically also feminists that recognize that our socially constructed idea of masculinity is toxic. So it's like, what idea of masculinity is there to replace the existing idea of masculinity, at the very least in your own head? And at least the people that I've talked to have not been able to give me an answer on this. And honestly, that's fine. We're fucking confused, and that's valid. We have feelings. That's honestly all that matters, to have feelings about a thing and have the human understanding to be able to respect and understand and listen and be patient, right? But there's a part of me that really wants to understand it from a philosophical level. But when I begin to ask people about it, it can sound really invalidating because I have a top-down, like a bottom-up understanding. And that can sound like, because I'm asking questions, that I won't validate or accept their perspective without first having an understanding, which sometimes that can be the case, but most of the time it's just seeking a deeper understanding. I've bird shit on my jacket and shit now. It's so annoying. I should have worn gloves when I went out, but I didn't really think about that I would get bird shit on me. God damn. So it's like asking the question, what is a man, is so goddamn hard. I remember when I had first come up here, it was like in May. It's January now. Back in May, I had said that I don't like the term masculinity. No, I didn't like the term toxic masculinity. The reason why I didn't like this term was because I had this idea that there was something inherent in men, like a manness, and that was masculinity, some objective standard of what it means to be a man. And I thought the word toxic masculinity prescribed an aspect of that inherent manness that was toxic. And I believed that no, it's not necessarily that there is an aspect to manness that is toxic, but that people are toxic and guise it as masculinity, as manness, as being a man. Now I have a different conception. I like the word now because I don't appeal to an idea of what, like some objective standard of manness, some inherent attribute that men have that make them men, right? Masculinity is not this objective thing. When I say masculinity, I mean our conception of what masculinity is, our conception of what a man should be or what masculinity is. And therefore, someone's conception of that can be toxic, which is then toxic masculinity or a toxic conception of masculinity. I don't separate then from what masculinity is and just a conception of masculinity, because masculinity in and of itself is a social construct and socially conceptualized. The sun's almost down, or at least past the buildings. Yeah, I want to make a video where I talk about manhood and what it means, almost esque the David Bowie movie that I saw like back 2 summers ago. That was a good movie. I like the structure of it, especially because it was like very pondering, but as I've gotten to now, I have a conclusion on what I think it means to be a man. But when I had initially thought of the idea, I did not have a conclusion. I was just asking questions and I wanted to explore it, but I'm not sure I'll be able to engage creatively when I already have a conclusion on what it is I want to explore. But I'll see how. Maybe I'll just post this video. I might do both. Roof